Here at Dancing Rabbit Eco Village, community members strive to live sustainably, and this plays into all aspects of daily living, including diet, energy consumption, and housing. Members build their own homes from sustainable and natural resources, including straw bales, cob, and reclaimed, recycled lumber. Now we're here to show you one of these natural building designs, Larkspur, home to Tony and Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Tony.
And I'm Alyssa.
And welcome to our home Larkspur. Alyssa and I broke ground for the concrete piers that make up the foundation on July the 31st of last year. So it's been a little over a year, and while the interior is almost fully complete, the exterior still has a little bit of work to do, but we're glad to show you around. Okay, so here we are up close and personal with one of the 9 concrete piers that make up the foundation of our home Larkspur. And the reason that Alyssa and I opted for a concrete pier foundation was that, quite frankly, we didn't have any idea how to do anything else. And this is a quick method, and it made sense to us. Other potential benefits are that it's very light on the land, not very invasive. We only dug 9 holes for the foundation of our house. And it happened very quickly. Within 2 weeks of getting the post hole digger out, we had a platform on which we could start framing our walls. So Alyssa and I chose the color blue for our metal roofing because it was the nicest color we could find. And we chose metal because our future plans are to incorporate a rainwater catchment system onto the house. And the way that that'll work is we'll just simply attach some gutters and some downspouts that will collect here into rain barrels that we can then use gravity-fed pressure to water our garden with.
Hi, and welcome to the inside of our house. Our house is about 400 square feet total with a downstairs and an upstairs. The downstairs is our primary living space where we hang out and read and do whatever we want. We're planning on having a baby in this space. And upstairs is our bedroom, and we chose to have 2 separate floors so that people wouldn't walk in and instantly see our bed. Our bedroom would be separate from the main living space. We heat our house with the wood-burning stove that we have in the north corner of our house. Let's show you the rest of it. Okay. Up here we have what's called a truth window, where you can see the inside of our house, what it looks like, what the construction process entailed. And up there you see the stick framing members, the 2x6s, or these are actually 2x4s. As well as a diagonal brace to keep the wall square and straight, and the insulation, which is made out of light clay straw, which is a technique that mixes straw with a very light clay slip, and the straw acts as the insulation and the clay helps with fire resistance and insect repellent. And I don't know what else about it.
The way that light clay straw works is that by attaching a form on the inside and the outside of the framing members, we're able to then shove in the loose straw to fill that cavity. And then as it dries, you pull off the forms, move them up the wall, and do the next course. And so, yeah, here you get a good view of what that looks like before we put the plaster. And the reason that we left it open and covered with plexiglass is that, and it's a tradition in natural building to include a truth window where you can show exactly what the insulation is of your house. So this really is made out of straw.
So on top of the insulation, the light clay straw insulation, we then coat the walls with plaster. And we use 2 different coats of plaster. And here on this wall you can see both types of plaster. Up at the top we still have just our first coat of plaster, which is a rough coat, which is made of clay, straw, and sand. A lot of the materials, or all of the materials, we got locally. The clay, some of it was what we dug out of the ground when we dug for our foundation. Some of it was given to us from Luke Zimmerman down the road when he scraped the clay out of his pond. The straw was straw that we bought from a local guy down in Memphis and somewhere else. And that's the first coat. The second coat is made of much more finer materials. We sift the sand to get it really fine. We sift the clay, and then we also add cattail fluff, which we take from the cattails that grow at the pond right next door, and wheat paste, which is basically just heated flour and water, and put it on with a trowel, and it makes this really nice, smooth coating.
And also, as we're doing the earth and plaster, applying it wet, it allows you to manipulate that surface, like we said, with the trowels and with burnishers to make it smooth, but you can also incorporate other materials. So if we step over here, you can see where we incorporated some seashells and some polished glass into a mosaic. And this is just to add a little bit of visual interest and take advantage of that workability with the product, the material, the earth and plaster. But also an important aspect of this design was that the mosaic sort of rises up into this opening, which connects the two spaces, we felt. And I think it does a pretty good job of that, too. So one of the covenants here at Dancing Rabbit is that all of our buildings, the wood that's used in our building has to be either sustainably and locally harvested or reclaimed. And so naturally all of the wood here in Larkspur has been sustainably locally harvested, or the majority has been reclaimed. So looking around, let's see, the floor came from the Smith House, which is a demolition project that I took part in just a couple miles down the road. The finished ceiling here came from the Kirkpatrick farmhouse, which I took apart last summer. Also, the majority of the 2x6s and even these 2x8s that make up the floor joists for the second story are also from the Kirkpatrick farmhouse. You see here the window trim and these nailer strips along the top of the wall. These are made out of honey locust, which is actually something of a pest tree in this area, but is milled up beautifully. And we were fortunate enough to work with a local mill where these trees were actually harvested from land maybe 5 miles from here, and we used it as sort of an accent to really set the house apart. So we did wire Larkspur for electricity, as you see here. However, we don't have our own power system. We're members of Ironweed subcommunity here at Dancing Rabbit, and we are also part of, as Ironweed, a power cooperative, if you will. And there are 8 solar panels and a 1,000 watt wind turbine that make up the system, and that is currently housed in a couple of different locations. And we ran a wire from Ted and Sarah's house to the junction box here at Larkspur, and provides us with electricity enough to play the stereo or lights, occasionally watch a DVD.
Welcome to the second story of our house. This is our cozy bedroom, pretty much where we sleep. And the design is fairly similar to downstairs, but a little bit different.
While the downstairs footprint is about 16 feet by 16 feet square, we only have half of that space for the second story. So about 8 by 13 when you allow for the space that the stairs take up. And also you notice that one of the things that makes this space so cozy is the short ceiling height. And the reason that we ended up with such a design is sort of relates to the reclaimed material. We didn't have enough 2x6s to have 8-foot walls on the second story, but we did have enough 12-foot 2x6s that we could cut in half. So we ended up with sidewalls that are a little over 5.5 feet high. And then to allow for headroom, we built scissor trusses that offer this cathedral ceiling. And that way we both have room to stand up and, put a shirt on without hitting our head on the wall or the floor or the ceiling. Why would you hit your head on the floor and put a shirt on? I don't know. But it could happen. One of the great benefits about natural building is that the space just really feels good. The materials are all natural, and you're not worrying about chemicals and off-gassing and artificiality even. So in addition to just the beautiful warmth and feel of the materials, knowing that you've created a space using your own two hands, or in the case of community, the hands of as many people as you could possibly get to come over, it's incredibly rewarding. And often you will find Alyssa and I in this very spot, sitting looking at our beautiful house and
staring at our walls.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that's nice plaster. No, what about that woodwork? But thanks so much for stopping by, really.